Inspired by events in America and France, the United Irishmen gained strength and momentum. Their newspaper, the Northern Star, spread the gospel of liberty throughout the country. Wolfe Tone persuaded the French to support their rebellion, and a rebel victory seemed almost within their grasp. But the storms that prevented the French from landing in Cork changed the course of Irish history. After Wolfe Tone's failed attempts to land a French invading army in 1796, martial law was imposed in Ulster. Within a year, the presses of the Northern Star were broken and thrown into the streets of Belfast. There were floggings, hangings, gruesome pitch cappings, a forerunner of tarring and feathering. All employed in a campaign to disarm the rebels and subdue the North. One of those arrested was William Orr. William Orr was a young Antrim farmer of New Light persuasion, a volunteer, a United Irishman, and an occasional contributor to the Northern Star.
He was arrested and lifted, as many were, on suspicion of swearing others into the secret society. He was taken to Carrickfergus and he was in prison for a year. And when the trial came up, the jury were pretty much intimidated and told by the judge to bring in a guilty verdict.
He was sentenced to death in 1797 after a controversial show trial found him guilty of high treason. William Orr was executed near this patch of grass in Carrickfergus just over 200 years ago. His friend and neighbour, the Reformed Presbyterian minister William Staveley, stood with Orr on the gallows green and prayed with him as they placed the noose around his neck. Orr cried out, "I am no traitor. I die for a persecuted country. Great Jehovah, receive my soul. I die in the true faith of a Presbyterian." The authorities had given radical Presbyterians their first martyr. The following summer, when rebellion finally erupted, the battle cry of the United Irishmen was "Remember Orr." Thousands of them answered the call to arms in the heartlands of Antrim and Down. On the 7th of June, the United Irish leader, Henry Joy McCracken, spoke to his men before the Battle of Antrim. "Whether we succeed or fail," he told them, "let us try to deserve success." It was just after 3 o'clock when the rebellion in Ulster commenced, as thousands of pike-wielding rebels descended on Antrim. Despite initial success, McCracken's force was heavily defeated.
The uprising of 1798 was doomed from the start. There were no professional soldiers really on their side. Henry Joy McCracken is a 23-year-old lad who's been brought in sort of at 4 weeks' notice, volunteering to be the leader. These are farmers, these are ordinary small tenants who have picked up their pikes.
Just a week later, the rebel army was destroyed during the Battle of Ballynahinch.
Once the forces of the Crown started to organise, once the dragoons arrived, once the militia started to bring up cannon and such like, they were forced to fall back. It was inevitable that they would be defeated.
Thousands of ordinary Presbyterians, New Light and Old, Seceders and Covenanters, suffered and died in Ulster. After a month on the run hiding in Cave Hill, McCracken wrote to his sister, "These are the times that try men's souls." Soon after, he was captured as he tried to board a ship to America. By the 17th of July, Henry Joy McCracken was dead, publicly hanged in Cornmarket.
1798 marks the high watermark of the revolution. Enough of them took up pikes, took up arms, marched into battle, but it marks the death of the dream. Ireland was not going to be free from English control. Not enough people were willing to actually march and fight for that cause. And even though intellectually many Presbyterians were for the cause, they're not going to actually pick up the pikes and fight.
But the Synod of Ulster, the Church's governing body, was quick to reassure the government of their continuing loyalty to the Crown.
It doesn't look good in propaganda terms, and so you get a conservative loyalist minority that sort of take over events in the Synod and try and navigate it through quite a difficult time.
The Synod issued an address to the King repudiating the inexcusable crimes of their deluded brethren, whose conduct they viewed with grief and indignation. But the Synod's declaration of loyalty could not obscure this central fact. 63 Presbyterian ministers and ministers in training, representing every strand of Irinism in Ulster, were implicated with the United Irishmen. William Orr is buried here, but since he died as a traitor, his family wasn't even permitted to place a marker on his grave, as if to erase him from history. And so it remained until 1998, when 201 years after his execution, local Presbyterians placed this memorial to his memory. And they've incorporated in it the rallying cry of the United Irishmen. Remember Orr.